Hey friends, it's Skyla Mann here. I wanted to welcome all of you to Thursday Night Live. It is always a pleasure to get together wherever our friends are from. And tonight, it is my distinct pleasure to get to welcome Corie DeVries from currently Palmer, Alaska, which is absolutely fantastic. I have been privileged enough to be with Corie, I feel like quite a few times really at different Young Living events. And I can tell you that every time I am with her, she makes me feel amazing. And it's because she's got such a huge heart. Her Young Living team is evidence that she loves on people really, really well. And Corie has a fascinating story. She has been through a lot. She brings a ton of wisdom, and I am so excited to introduce Crown Diamond, Corie DeVries, to Thursday Night Live. So Corie, please take it away.
Thank you, Skyla. Well, I am very honored to be here. I did not know about this particular group until earlier this week. Skyla and I talked a few weeks ago. I actually asked her to come speak to my team. Skyla, as you all know, is a Blue, and she and I get along really, really well, but also have a lot of opposites in our personalities. And I wanted my team to get a little bit of Skyla. We needed a little bit of Skyla in our lives. So she actually came and spoke with some of our leaders earlier this week and had asked me to come and speak. And I didn't realize that she had this really amazing group. So I just love that everything you see with Skyla, just like she was saying with me, I feel like more so with her, you see just her giant heart. Everything is Team YL, and how many people can I help, and how many people can I reach, and all of that. So I just love that about her. She's been a huge encouragement to me. A lot of the things that I'll share with you tonight, she and I have actually talked about. In fact, some of the things that I was thinking about, I was like, I think Skyla actually told me this. So you might hear Skyla coming out of my mouth tonight as I'm sharing with you. But just thank you for being here. And my prayer is just that everybody will have, at least take a little nugget away. I never want to waste anybody's time. And so that whenever I do something like this, I just pray beforehand that each of you would walk away with something of value that you can, implement right away, or that will encourage you, or you can share with somebody else you think it will be helpful to them. Yes, Evangeline, we all need a little bit of blue in our lives. I'm working on mine. I'm working on developing my lacking blue. But I will start just by telling you a little bit about myself. Obviously, my name is Corie. Skyla and I have very, very, very crazy similar backgrounds. After she came and spoke to our team the other night, my sister, who is a Gold with Young Living, had been on the call, and she said, I cannot believe how similar your growing up was. Like, it's a little bit spooky. So I grew up on a farm in Iowa, not far from where Skyla grew up. And she shared with us the other night that her dad took them traveling around in a pickup with a little topper on the top, and they rode in the back. Well, we did the same. We did the same thing. Not all over, because we didn't travel super far until I was like in high school, but we would lots of times go from Southwest Iowa up to Northern to go to Okoboji. If anybody knows where Okoboji's at, we went there all the time. Sometimes we'd drive down to Table Rock Lake in Missouri, which Skyla was just there. See, we're just doing the twinsy thing. But anyways, I grew up on a farm, which I love having that background as a part of my background coming into Young Living, because I really, really appreciate how hard farming is and how everything relies upon the seasons. I remember, being in bed when I was little, and of course in the summertime and in the fall, the windows were always wide open, and I could hear like the feeders going outside, and I would hear tractors, the combines and stuff going when it was harvest time, or planting time, whatever time of year it was. I mean, I look back and it's like, I did not appreciate how hard my dad was working, because lots of times it was, you know, way into the wee hours of the morning. There was just no stopping. And I never wanted for anything, but I know there were times it was really hard because it just depended upon the harvest. And that's what it is with Young Living. So I can just really, really appreciate that, and the importance of quality and integrity and perseverance and all of those things. So I grew up on a farm. We ate a lot of things, you know, fresh out of our garden. I didn't appreciate that nearly enough either. But my mom, about the time I got into my preteens, early teens, she really started to get a little more into the whole natural wellness thing. You know, had some different struggles herself, and we children were generally healthy, but, you know, just some things that started to become a little bit annoying. And so she started getting into the natural health thing. She came home and said, you know, the soda pop was going, and some different things that we weren't too happy about at first, but we started learning about homeopathy and using herbs and, you know, the probiotics and eating better and all of those things. And for me, it just became a passion. I would go, instead of hanging out with my friends, you know, on the weekends, I'd be sitting in like master herbalist classes with my mom or something like that. You know, I just loved to go and learn more. And so I went off to college. I really wanted to go to school in that field, but unless I wanted to go to one of the coasts at the time, there wasn't anything. And I was a farm girl, and I didn't want to leave too far from the farm. So I actually just went over to Lincoln, a little bit, you know, hour and a half away from where we were at, and studied family sciences, which, you know, didn't really have, there wasn't much I was excited about, but my dad said I was going to college. So I went to college. I met my husband there. I said I'd never marry into the Air Force. And so guess what I did? I married into the Air Force and moved all around with him. And he is just the absolute most amazing person you will ever meet. You talk about heart for people. He is just, I tear up just thinking about it. He's just the kindest person you'll ever meet. He will do anything for anyone. And he's absolutely incredible. So he flew for the Air Force for about 15 years. I say we try. You sign up for the military to travel the world, right? Well, we toured Alaska and Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas, and like some pretty, you know, amazing tourist destinations. But it was still really, really great. Now, I took all of my love for natural health. Yes, iridology. We studied iridology too. I would like to go back to studying that more, actually. I really, really would. But anyway, I took my love of natural health and I took it right into having babies and raising a family. So Gordon and I got married not long out of college. We were supposed to be on the, you know, have babies in a few years plan. I was supposed to actually have a really hard time getting pregnant. That was not the case. And so we started having babies pretty quickly. And right off the bat, I started doing what I knew to do naturally and the best that I could for my children. And, you know, we were pretty healthy for the most part. But over the years, I just really got frustrated because I could tell something was not missing. It was like I'm working so hard to make, you know, everything whole foods for my family. And I pump us full of all of this stuff that I think is so great for us. And we still just seem to struggle with like the same old stuff that everyone else struggles with. And two, I knew there were things I was not going to do for my family. You know, if they were needing some extra support or whatever it was, I knew there were things I was not willing to do, but I didn't really have the peace of knowing that I had the tools that I would use instead to support their health, their overall wellness. And so there was always just kind of an uneasiness there. And like, I wasn't always necessarily sure as a mom what was best to do for my kids. And, I had used essential oils a little bit from time to time for different things, but literally they were just, you know, whatever oils I found and grabbed, whatever brands. And I really just thought they were worthless because I thought they smelled terrible. You know, I thought lavender smelled terrible. I didn't realize at the time it was probably lavandin that was in the bottle. And, you know, I thought I was buying lavender because it said so. And had chemical burns on my skin from just buying the cheapest I could find. And what I just didn't know. I didn't know. And so anyway, at some point, I was introduced to Young Living. Now, I had a little guy we don't vaccinate in our family, and I won't start a vaccine discussion, but we don't, except for one time when we were actually living here in Alaska. My daughter was getting ready to start a little couple days a week preschool and needed the little physical thing signed, so we went to the military hospital, and my son was not even a year old. So neither of them had had a vaccine ever. And the doctor, she was an older woman who had served as like a missionary and such. She had actually at some point in her journey contracted hepatitis B. So she was very passionate about that particular vaccine. I would say bully. She was bully, but I'll call her passionate. I'll just call her passionate. And so we ended up allowing each of our children to receive the first of, I think it's normally one of those. And my son was never the same afterward. He's never the same. He let out a shriek from the time that needle went into him, and immediately we had, temperature of 105 and troubles breathing and all of these different things, and he wouldn't sleep. And as he grew older, we just had things like the repetitive behaviors and hurting himself and throwing things and breaking things, and our life really revolved around him. What I could do on a daily basis, whether I could pack us up and go to the store or whatever, it just all depended on how his day was going and whether we could make it out of the house. And I did everything I knew. I mean, we ended up in Oklahoma. We had an acupuncturist. We had a chiropractor that was like our family doctor. He was incredible. Craniosacral therapy, all these amazing things. I had him on even an herbal supplement that seemed to help incredibly, but the minute he would come off of it, it was like it was just masking. And we just needed help. And I just really prayed that we would find the help that we needed, because I knew there was a missing element in that regimen, just some sort. He needed emotional support was what he needed, because it was like it was locked up in him and we couldn't figure out what to do for him. And so a friend of mine introduced me actually to Thieves hand purifier, which seems kind of out there and not related, but I was pregnant again. I usually am pregnant, if you haven't caught that in my story. But I was pregnant again. Everything made me sick, and she pulled that out, and the smell of it, I was like, that is the first thing I've smelled in weeks. It doesn't make me just want to like vomit everywhere. And so I figured out I love the smell of Thieves, and I ended up signing up for Young Living so I could get Thieves hand purifier. Okay. Did the basic kit. Don't follow my example, because I regretted that and eventually ended up buying like all the PSK stuff and just paying more for it. But really things kind of sat. Like for a year or two, things just kind of sat. I used my hand purifier. I'm sure I used a few oils here and there. I don't really remember though for what, if I did, until we would just have some things come up where I wouldn't know what else to use. And so then I would start reaching for my oils. And over time, I began to realize what a valuable thing we had just sitting there collecting dust, and they started to not be so dusty. And for my son, it ended up being kind of the missing piece in what we needed to add to our regimen of all the different things that we were doing for him. It was like a key. And I can't specifically say what all, happened. Obviously you guys know the rules, but it was what our family needed. It was what our family needed, and what I became convinced every family needed. So from 2009, when I started, to about 2013, all I did was use my oils and learn about my oils and fall in love with my oils. And I'm green, so I researched my oils like crazy, right? And asked lots of questions. But I began to understand, as people asked me what I was doing and what was going on, that I really was being selfish in refusing to build a business with Young Living. I thought I knew what, multi-level marketing was all about, and that I didn't like it and didn't want any part of it, and it wasn't a salesman and all that kind of stuff. But people were asking questions because they were seeing what was going on in our family's life, and even asking if they could come over. I mean, like, basically I had people begging me to hold events for them, which is a nice way to start off. Those people, a lot of those first people didn't end up becoming part of our Young Living team. We were in Texas then. but they were the ones that got me sharing and realizing I loved sharing. And finally, my husband caught on to my biggest fear, which was what my friends would think of me, and said, you know what, if your friends are going to think poorly of you for getting out there and sharing something you love, then are they really your friends? And so I've clung to that this last 4 years now that we've been building, because if anyone knows me, they know that I do this because I care about them. I love this business. I love this profession. I love the relationships that we have. I love the financial freedom and the time freedom. I love the fact that my husband is home with us now and not deployed to the other side of the world like he usually was. A lot of the huge major struggles that we had, I was on my own because he was gone. And that was pretty terrible and pretty hard. So he's home now. And honestly, I think maybe that's made one of the biggest differences for not just our son, but for all of us. He just needed that in his life. Things would always get worse when his daddy was gone because he didn't understand why daddy was gone and he didn't know how to express how upset he was about it. So it would get just really awful. So he's home. He's home now. And just the peace of mind that I have tools available to me, now I know not only what I'm not going to do, but I know what I am going to do to keep our family above that wellness line, like we talk about. Compliance wise, I'll address that a little bit because I feel like there are some people still kind of stuck on that. Like ever since the compliance thing, I haven't known how to share. And we've had some people still like not ready to come back or whatever. The thing is, never ever should we have been diagnosing and prescribing, and never ever should we promise that an oil is going to do something, because oils work differently for everyone. I have a favorite, Valor is my favorite blend for a reason, because I have an incredible story that's so bizarre and unbelievable. I have to look back in my own journal from several years ago sometimes to remind myself it really happened. But I can't tell somebody else Valor will do, exactly the same thing for my family it did for your family or whatever, because I don't know. I don't know that. What I can do is introduce people and give them the tools they need to learn and, to learn what's best for their family. So anyways, don't let that be one of your excuses, which we're going to talk about excuses. So I began building. To give you a timeline, I started building January of 2013. We hit executive in February 2013, which I really didn't know what that meant. I didn't know, I thought silver in 6 meant silver within 6 months of signing up, which I had signed up like years ago. So that was not even on my radar. But then I looked because someone said something. I realized we could do silver in 6. So we hit silver then in March of 2013, gold in November, platinum in March 2014, diamond in November 2014. And I want you to catch this gap, crown diamond in November 2016. So 2-year gap there. And we're going to talk about why that was. Okay. So it was pretty fast, and I was working really, really hard. And Skyla mentioned this to my team the other night, and I would say the same thing to you. When you decide to do this, do it. Like, go for it. Okay. It's going to be a time of hustle, which I have some members who hate this. Skyla even says she doesn't like that word. So it's going to be a time of whatever you want to call it, like working really, really hard. And you are going to have to sacrifice some things, but what you gain from it is so absolutely incredible that it'll be worth it. Okay. It's kind of one of those, like you talk about, would you give up, an extra hour of your day every day or a couple evenings a week every week in order to literally whatever it is? For me at the time, it was, I wanted to bring my husband home and I wanted to bring him home soon. Okay. He didn't even hang around for Air Force retirement, which most people think is nuts until we help them to understand why. He had to literally sit in his boss's office at the squadron and be like, sir, I know you're concerned for me and you think I'm off my rocker, but literally at this point, it's costing us money for me to continue working here because my wife needs me at home in our business. Okay. But we worked really, 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 really hard. I was teaching classes at least a couple of times a week, usually in other people's homes. They would ask me into their living rooms. And we had groups going on Facebook. We were learning, meeting people for lunch, doing vendor events, really whatever it took. Let me tell you though, I also was doing a lot of things and putting in a lot of hours that I did not need to put in. that timeline that I gave you. Okay. And I'm sure I didn't expect you to write it down, but so I'll share it with you here a little bit again. Silver in March, gold in November, platinum the next March, diamond in November. Okay. During that time, I became pregnant this summer of 2013, and I had a baby in February of 2014. Okay. So the whole time all that mega hustle was going on, most of the time I was pregnant and had a newborn baby, and I didn't stop. I didn't take time to rest. When I just went right back to working with him bouncing on my knee or, nursing him as I went, he was not an easy baby. I had visions, because I love wrapping my babies on. I had visions of wrapping him on and, going to vendor events and teaching classes with him in the little wrap. Like, his sister had loved the wrap. He did not love the wrap. Okay. This child has been a mega red personality from the beginning. He doesn't like to cuddle. He wasn't ever content until he was able to move on his own. And then he still wasn't truly happy until he could talk. And of course he did all those things early. Okay. So instead of just rolling with that and resting and enjoying him, I pushed the entire time. The thing is, I can look back and tell you, I could have achieved that timeline without staying up until 2 a.m. working on class presentations, without feeling like I had to post like every single hour in every group that I had, without feeling like when one of my business builders called, I had to spend 2 hours with her on the phone every single day, without feeling like every time the phone buzzed, which at first I kept notifications were on my phone. I didn't even think about it because it hadn't been a big deal before. We got to the point where I noticed we'd be sitting there, because we homeschool as well. So I have 5 kids. We homeschool. Number 6 is coming in November. We got to the point where every time the phone would buzz or make a noise, all my kids would jump and run to the phone because they thought that was the most important thing. So if your notifications are on your phone and they're interrupting your family time, turn them off. Okay, hide it. I've literally given my phone to my husband before and said, I don't want to know where this is at. Take it and put it somewhere. Okay, I don't have to do that so much anymore, but it took a little bit. All that to say, you can achieve crazy, amazing things in whatever timeline you want to put out there. I suggest you pray about your timeline, because oftentimes ours is not His, it's not the Lord's, okay? And you may think you're just growing a business, but what you don't understand is the Lord is actually having you grow a business so He can grow you. So He's more concerned about growing you, okay, than what's really going on with your timeline and your business. But I guarantee you're probably doing things that are not necessary. And if you're married and you're not going to bed with your spouse when he goes to bed at night, or, your family time is not really your family time because you're jumping every time your phone goes off, or you are spending all your time thinking you have to post like crazy on Facebook or whatever it is, you need to change some things. Because growing your business is great and fun and so rewarding, but if you get to where you're going and you are burnt out and you've lost your marriage and your relationships with your children and you're all angry and bitter and frustrated with one another, it's not worth it. It's just totally not worth it at all. So what I want you to do when you sit down to work, your scheduled work hours, because they should be scheduled, be very, very intentional with your time. Okay, think about what really grows your business. And you guys, this is going to mean saying no to some pretty incredible things. It's going to mean that you can't have like a best friend relationship with every single person on your team. And that's really hard for me, okay, because I'm green, but I've got a lot of yellow in me. And I just want, I love everyone, and I want them to know that I love them. And I want, when I have an inbox full of messages, it's really hard for me to ignore them for a while or send back just a quick thing when I really want to share my heart back to them, because you get people messaging and they spill everything and share their hearts, and you can't do the same with everybody. And that is hard, okay? But here's what I've come to understand. While it's hard to do that, I have more people now. See, I had the huge gap because I hit a wall. I hit a wall in about spring of 2000, and I guess it would have been 15. Yeah, diamond in November 2014. Spring 2015 rolled around, and I lost it. I crashed. Our anniversary came in January. We had to cancel our date because I couldn't get out of bed. My adrenals were so far gone. I couldn't function, and I had so much anxiety and fear I wouldn't even get on the highway and leave my kids. I stopped holding events for a while. I kind of disappeared from my groups. I shut down one of my giant groups because it was just literally too much to handle. Just a ton of things happened, and it was a ripple effect. It affected our family, our team, everything. And things kind of stalled out for a really good bit of time until I could kind of heal and pray and pull it back together again. So don't do that. I did not just give you, just do what I did. I don't really want you. I teach a lot from don't do what I did. Like, here's what I did. Now here's what you should do instead. You can do this and have your timeline and all of that, but don't sacrifice the most important things. Okay. And this is what I wanted to tell you. I thought that when I came back, and actually I would say I need to kind of strengthen my boundaries again, because we've been traveling actually since March. And when you travel, routine kind of tends to go out the window, and I've ended up kind of back to this, like I'm messaging whenever and whatever. And the minute the boundaries come down and it's just all fair game, people don't mean to, because they don't realize that they will take up every second of your time if you leave yourself open to that. Okay. So you need to schedule your time, including your personal time. I sat at a business lunch with one of my gals today, and I showed her my planner. I said, do you see my planner? Because she literally is taking every phone call at every moment and not taking care of herself. And I can see it in her health. I can see it because she's got some health issues she really needs to stay on top of. And I showed her my planner. I said, do you see here? Tuesday was a work day. It's jam-packed full of calls and everything else. Wednesday, I had a medical procedure thing going on, and I knew emotionally I just needed to be checked out for that day. So it's all marked off. I didn't just leave it open to be filled up by whatever. I scheduled the day off. Okay, today's big work day. Tomorrow's family day. It says family day. It's marked off. You have to schedule those times and protect them as if they're the most important thing, because they are, because they absolutely are. Because if your family falls apart and your health goes, you can't do this. So this is not more important. It's not more important. You have to protect the most important things. Okay. So I'm kind of jumping all over the place here from my notes, which is why I don't usually bother writing down notes, because I never stick to them anyways. But I want you to think about what really grows your business. And here's where we're going to get into some practical stuff, okay? Because I want you to have all the amazing stuff that I've gotten from this journey, but I want you to do it without like totally losing your stuff here in a couple of years or whatever, okay? So IPAs every day, okay? IPAs, income producing activities. I tell people this all the time because I hear this so much. People will say, well, there's no one way. There's no one way to grow this.
I can take you right now, and I can't leave you on the chair by yourself. All right?
And they'll, I'm doing this my way, and that's totally cool, and that's totally fine. They're right that there's no one way, but there are some wrong ways. There are some wrong ways to grow your business if you're really wanting to see growth. And one of those would be to just kind of completely ignore the income producing activities. Okay, so those are things like sharing, inviting, helping people sign up, and then educating and supporting, walking with them along the way, and taking them along for the journey, and then teaching others how to do the exact same thing. And it's just like, it's a cycle. So you can be posting on Facebook like crazy, thinking that and that's why I was saying earlier, I was putting so much effort and so much crazy time into stuff I didn't have to. And sometimes those income producing activities were not happening. And I would have been better off just kind of maybe even shutting down some more groups and showing up at classes a little less prepared, okay? And just sharing from my heart and making sure that every single day, it's IPAs every day, okay? Every single day, share, invite, help people sign up, educate, support, grow your leaders, and show them how to do the same thing. It's not always easy, but it really, really is that simple. And you can do that. I'm not going to say you should only work an hour a day, 5 hours a week, because I really think, especially at first, you should put more time in. But if you only have an hour and you sit down and you are very intentional about your time and you don't let yourself get sidetracked scrolling through Facebook and seeing what everybody's up to, okay, I've gotten lost in that. If you really protect your time and you sit down and you get down to business and that timer goes off in an hour, you are going to be shocked at how much you can get done in that hour. Okay, have a little power hour and see what you could, just challenge yourself. You know, how many people can I contact? How many people can I follow up with? How many people can I check in on that got their kits last month that I want, see if they need to walk through? How many care calls can I schedule with people? Whatever it is you're needing to do that day, I challenge you to be very focused. Get rid of the distractions. I understand a lot of us are mamas. Okay, I built to platinum with my husband working full time, and he didn't come home completely until I was diamond. I will tell you, as a mama, the one thing that I see mamas kind of they just kind of let it happen. The little ones stop napping, and then it's like, I don't know what to do. They don't nap anymore, and so we don't have any quiet time, and I don't have any time to myself. Forget that, okay? My kids range in age currently from 3 to 15. I don't care how old they get. They know in the afternoon, and this is before Young Living, I get some quiet time to myself, okay? And that's what I'm probably going to use to do the bulk of my work. And they can go entertain themselves, okay? Parents don't have to be entertainers. In fact, that's not good for your kids. You really need, if they're bored, I love it when my kids say they're bored. I'm like, that is an incredible opportunity for you to be so creative. I'm so glad you're bored. Go have fun, okay? We don't have to entertain our kids. Don't do that to them, and don't do it to yourself. Okay, so IPAs every day. Also, I want to address the fact, because I hear this sometimes, when you talk about that, and if that's the only thing that you get done, you've done well for the day, people will say, well, what about relationship? What about relationship? Because relationship is so key, and you're right. This is a relationship business, but I want you to look at this list, okay? If we're sharing, and we're inviting, and we're following up, and we're educating, and we're supporting, and we're helping to grow leaders, what's happening when we're doing all of that stuff consistently? We're growing a relationship with these people, like big time, because we didn't just like sign them up and abandon them. So if you stick with those things and you do it from a place of caring about people, you're going to be growing a relationship with them. All right. So I don't want to say don't worry about that. Definitely be cognizant, right? But that becomes a part of it. The other thing I love to share, I don't know if any of my members have hopped on here tonight or not, because they would groan because they've seen it so many times. Skyla and I have both done Eric Walton's Downline Leadership program training. And one of my favorite things that I share constantly from that training, I lots of times end up calling it the circle of influence. He calls it the leadership engine. But basically, you've got your circle. I put mine on my notebook here so I wouldn't forget to bring it up. There it kind of is. You see my messy writing and getting a little bit closer. So you've got credibility, influence, or credibility, integrity, relationship, and influence. And you've got kind of the never-ending circle there that goes round and round and round, right? This is not like check it off 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, okay, we've established credibility, check. Okay, now integrity, check. If as a green, I would love it if it worked that way, but it totally doesn't work that way. Okay, if you want to have influence over someone's life, to encourage them to do the things you know will help them, whether it's in their wellness or in their business or their finances or whatever it is, they need to trust you. And they need to believe you're going to say what you do. Believe that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. Okay, you need to be able to establish integrity and credibility with them and have a relationship with them if you want to have any sort of influence in their lives whatsoever. Okay, so if you have people you're working with, whether on the product side or the business side of things, and you're just feeling like, holy cow, I put all this time in and I really care about them, but I can't seem to like influence them to whatever it is, because everybody's in a different place. You know, we're working on different things with different people. Stop and look at those. Stop and look at those 4 areas, the 3 areas really, because you're trying to have influence. So credibility, integrity, relationship. Is something they're suffering a little bit or lacking? You need to work on one of those areas. I can tell you for myself, Most of the leaders of my diamond and crown diamond legs are people that I've known, that I've been friends with for 10, 15 years. Okay, long before Young Living. They're Air Force friends. One of them's my sister. Just people I've known seems like forever. Okay, we can kind of assume our relationship is cool with those people. Well, they've known me for 10 years. They know I care, right? They know I do what I say I'm going to do. I tell you what, for me, when I started to get really busy, and by busy, I don't mean like the good kind of busy. Okay. I tell my gals busy's not a badge. Whenever they try to like message me with their long schedule of what's going on for the day and why they can't do what they need to do, I don't even respond. And that's how they know, like, uh-oh, I just tried to earn my busy badge. Let me re-message her with different wording. Okay. Because busy's not a good thing. But when I got busy with my Young Living business, they were kind of the first to get the shaft. Okay. Because it was like, and that's good. We're all good. I've got these new people over here. I've got to go, impress them, build my reputation with them. My friends, my sister, they know me. They know I'm awesome, right? I don't know if I really thought that. But I let our relationships kind of suffer, okay? And I'm going back now and really rebuilding. So like with one of them, I was on the phone today and we talked business for probably 30 minutes. But for most of the time, it was just talking. And it was really nice because we've kind of gotten caught up with business stuff and we need to make a point of doing that. So even with people that know and love you, don't neglect that circle. Don't neglect that circle of influence, that leadership engine and those things in there. Okay. Okay. So 2 words that I've kind of touched on, and this is, I'm just wanting to give you some keywords: intentional and consistent. Okay. You may not be the best at something. You may not be putting in 30, 40 hours a week. You may not be the rock star enroller, whatever it is. But if you can be intentional and consistent in your actions, you're going to get somewhere. Okay. I can tell you one thing that I see with a lot of business builders, is that they think, like I'll see them or hear them say, I've been doing this for 3 years, 2 years, whatever, and I'm only here and it's really frustrating. But I can look at what they have and have not been doing, and I can see that they have not at all been consistent. Okay. What they have done from the outside looking in, it's like, I maybe didn't even know that they really thought, it was like, I didn't realize you thought you were like a serious business builder. It's like they think, but from any of maybe their current members that have been watching, they can't figure out why they stopped coming to classes. Well, it's because you only hold a class maybe like every few months. And you're totally inconsistent in reaching out to your people, so they're not taking you seriously anymore. And that might be another reason you might see people jumping ship and going somewhere else, or who knows what it is. You need to be present, okay? If businesses are open for business, if they're going to be successful, they have to be open for business. So you may not have a storefront where you actually flip the sign over, but goodness, if you need it as a reminder, walk into your office, have the open close sign hanging there and flip it over so that you can see that you're open for business and right now it's time to work. Okay. So that you're not just scrolling Facebook, or like for me right now, it's baby stuff. I just want to shop all the baby stuff. Okay. Not during work time. Not during work time. It's so tempting because the little tabs are open where I've been shopping on my computer. Not during work time. Okay. The sign is flipped. We're open for business. Have to be open for business. So be consistent. Don't be prideful. Okay. That's a hard one. And a lot of us don't think we're prideful until it's like our pride gets challenged. For me, one thing that I struggled with a lot, and it's funny because I'll get some of the people that I had the struggle with coming to me and they're struggling with it. You'll see what I mean in a second. One thing that I struggle with is telling people the same thing over and over again, and I can tell they're not hearing it. Okay. And then they might go listen to Skyla, or they might go listen to Monique, or they might go listen to, who knows, tons of other people, so many amazing leaders. And they'll be like, Madison Vining is amazing. You won't believe what she said. She said blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I have told you that 20. I probably don't say it, but I'm thinking I have literally told you that every day for the last 3 years. Okay. And it used to really bug me. And now I'm like, thank you, Jesus, that there is somebody out there willing to say it to my people when they don't have to say anything to my people. And in a voice and a tone and just at that right time. Okay, we talk about how people need 10 to 12 touches lots of times before they're willing to. It's the same. It's not just the way it is with the kid. It's everything. Okay, people just need to hear things, oftentimes a lot, and lots of times from many different people or venues or whatever before they latch onto it. So now when people come to me and say, hey, I heard this thing that you told me 1,000 times, and sometimes they will catch, you'll have people say like, I know so-and-so, I know you've told me so many times, but for some reason, I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you, but she said it and it just clicked. And that's fabulous. Be happy. Be happy when your people are learning from other resources and learning from other leaders. Don't be prideful. Okay, I've seen it in the groups where somebody else answers a question for someone else's member, and then that sponsor enroller jumps in, and you can tell it's like a this is my member sort of thing, you know? Don't do that. Don't do that. Be so grateful that you've got a team of people, thousands of people willing to help educate and support your members. Okay, just be grateful for that. I had a person come to me recently that she was like, I'm so frustrated. So-and-so came to me and said, you know, I'm so excited because so-and-so said this, and I've been telling her that forever. And I said, you know what, just be grateful, because when you went to so-and-so and heard from so-and-so the thing I'd been telling you for years, I was just excited. She was like, oh, I did that to you? But we all do it. I've done it to my leaders. I know I have. So we just need to be thankful. Take the time to dream and plan and know your vision and know your why, have your goals set up. I actually think of goals as like, you know, we drive a lot up here in Alaska because you can drive for like 6-8 hours and you're still in Alaska. And so we really watch for like the mileposts. We even have a book called The Milepost. It's like a dictionary for Alaska, and it, you know, gives the notes on the different things at the different mileposts. So anyway, I think of goals actually as like the mileposts that are kind of along the way to like the big vision. Okay, the big why, the big destiny that you're wanting to reach. So you need to have those measurable goals set up along the way, because otherwise, you know, like for us, if we're driving through Alaska and just driving, and it's gorgeous up here, if you haven't been up here, you need to come and you need to drive around. But even after a while, even like glaciers and waterfalls, it's like, okay, are we ever going to get there? Okay, but when we see the mileposts, you're like, okay, because I will do that. It's like that 20 miles. We've gone 20 miles. We're getting there. It's the same thing with your business goals. It's the same thing. You've got to have, you know, we talk about SMART goals. You've got to have those measurable things set up along the way so that you don't get the feeling of spinning your wheels and like you're not getting anywhere. Stop comparing is another one. You have to stop comparing yourself to other people. You know, stop thinking that other people are, you know, getting there faster, or their Facebook lives are better, or they have more likes on their posts, or they get more attendees or whatever. Just stop it right now. Okay, because that's not doing anything good. This is your journey. And yes, you do need to do some of those specific things that we talked about, like the income producing activities, but you cannot compare. Time to rank is a big one. You know, well, so-and-so got to this rank in such and such time. Who really cares? Okay, if you're being intentional, you're being consistent, keep going. And if you don't like how fast you're not getting somewhere, then, you know, look at what you're doing and reevaluate, but quit comparing to everybody else. Another one I see a lot of lately is how your organization is structured. Like, there's only one right way now to structure your organization. And that one bugs the absolute heck out of me. Okay. Because there's like this new idea that, and I'll see people say like, oh, so-and-so said I only need 6 or 7 legs to build a Royal Crown Diamond. And my front leg is, or my front line is so wide. It's so wide. And I wish I would have known to place people here and whatever. And I literally will look at their organization and be like 12 people on their front line or something. That is not a wide that is not a wide front line, besides the fact that there's nothing wrong with building wide and supporting deep, which personally is what I still think is best. And a lot of my personal upline leaders, that is what they have done. And some of them, it took them longer to reach their ranks, but they're also earning some of the biggest paychecks. So, you know, you choose. For me, it's not all about rank. And I think sometimes we get too fixated on that. So whatever the case, what I want to say is if you have built a certain way and you don't love the way you've built and you want to change it up, fine. but don't do this thing where you're like lamenting what you've done. Like, oh, because I see that in people right now. And it's like, well, I don't get it. I don't get why you're so upset about this. Just keep going. I think too, it's really wise to build by relationship. I personally don't have it in me to literally have giant legs full of people that don't have connections and relationships. And it's like on me to be in there constantly helping that build. I mean, it makes me want to go take a nap just thinking about it. I have some leaders that they can do that. They can totally do that. And it literally feeds them. And, the end of the day, they're like, whoa, I just spent the whole day helping my team of, 50 people build relationships and get to know each other. And I'm like, holy cow, that would totally fry me if that were on me to do that. So I prefer to build where relationships already exist. Okay. And that does mean sometimes it takes a little longer. Okay. But I think it's valuable and builds a solid foundation. So you build the way you want to, but stop comparing to everybody else and then constantly thinking you've totally messed up and done something wrong. Don't do that. Also, I would say put on blinders. Okay. I tell my team this all the time, put on the blinders. This is where I'm heading. When I started building, there were not nearly the resources available that there are now. Okay. It was like we had our one really great reference book, and I had some friends that had a couple of PowerPoint presentations that we probably all laugh at now. Okay. But they were fabulous then, and that's what we used. Or maybe we had our own little handouts or whatever. But we built and we grew like crazy. And now what I often see it's just people like running in circles, and I'll get messages, have you seen the latest this book? Have you seen, what about this book? Have you seen this handout? What about this program? What about this, sending out something every month program or whatever. And it is completely distracting them from building their business. Okay. So if you need a new resource or you need a new tool, you're seeing a gap in your skills and ability, or a gap in, resources, like I don't really have a good thieves handout. I need to go find something to share with people. Then go look, but then come back and put on the blinders and keep going. You guys, I have not read the book Game Plan yet. You know why? Too busy building my business. Okay. And it's not something I personally need to fill in my missing skill set right now. I've got a pile a mile high of books that I do need to read. Okay, on different skills I am trying to work on. I'm so grateful that book is there. I have team members that are reading it and they're doing boot camps with it and whatever. And that is so fabulous and amazing. And thank you, Sarah Harnish, for putting it out there, because it was something that was so needed. And at times I would talk to my team members about maybe we should try to put something together, but it was just not something that I had in me to do. And it would not have been nearly as good anyway. So I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. But do I personally feel like I have to rush out and read it because everybody says it's awesome? No, I absolutely don't. And I don't feel bad about it. Okay. So read it if you need it. And if you don't, keep building your business. And when you need something and something's lacking, go find it and then come back and put the blinders on and build. Skyla, am I getting too long? Like way long? No? Okay. Stop fearing the paycheck. Okay. And I would just want you to just kind of think about it for a minute and get past the point of, because the first reaction is like, why in the world would I fear a paycheck? I'm not afraid of a paycheck. I'll take the money. Okay. But I'm going to talk about this for a little bit. We get so afraid sometimes of what people are going to think if we have a nice house or we have a fancy car, or we don't get out of bed at 6 a.m. to work 12 hours a day just like them, or our husband comes home, or we go on vacations, or we tell people we're taking time out, or whatever it is. We get so afraid of what's going to happen. It's usually fear of man. What are people going to think? Right? For me, I will tell you, I still struggle with fearing the responsibility of the paycheck that we have coming in. Okay. Because with great blessing just comes greater responsibility. And now we have this amazing income. That's kind of been one of our hangups with houses. We've been house hunting forever. And honestly, we kind of let this one house pass by because I was like, what are people going to think if they see us in that house? Holy cow, what are they going to think of us? Okay. And that's just silly. It's just silly. Just silly. right? So I'm totally admitting to you, I still struggle with this. The type of struggle and the different circumstances change over time. But I've totally seen it, and I've seen people walk away from the business because of it. Another thing that I hear, that I don't know if it's so much fearing the paycheck itself, but I think it's fear of failure. People will say, I don't need the money. I don't care about the money. I just want to help people. Okay. That one makes me twitch every single time. Okay. My first response is, I am so glad you want to help people. So do I. And you know how I do? I take my big fat paycheck and I give like crazy, more than I was ever able to give before. Okay, that has been a dream of mine. We've done for several years where we will sit and we'll go through like the World Vision and the different catalogs at Christmas time. And we let our kids, shop through the catalog. And it's so cute because like our little Ellie, who's 6, she always is like, I want to give the fuzzy little chicks to the little kids. And, somebody else loves babies. And so they want to give the baby stuff or whatever. Have you guys seen that where you can kind of choose and you get to pick what gets donated to certain villages or families? And my husband had always said, I'm kind of tired of looking at these big things and knowing like I can give a portion of a well, or I can give a portion of a new house or whatever. I want to give the whole thing. And now we can't. Okay. And that makes me want to cry just thinking that, because it was a dream and we can do it now. Like we're checking things off the dream list because of the paycheck, and it's serving other people. So quit with the whole, like, I don't care about the paycheck. I want to help people. Just make the paycheck and then turn around and help people. We have got so many people with so many millions and billions of dollars in their hands that are using it for not good things in this world. Okay. They're forcing terrible things onto underprivileged people around the world. We need more money in the hands of more people who will do good things with it. And that's you and that's us. And honestly, that is, I believe, why the Lord is allowing this company and our various teams to grow the way they have been, because he knows that through this, we are getting money into the hands of people who will do the right things with it. Okay, feeding good foods to people and getting products to people that actually support wellness instead of making them sick, and giving people homes and care and letting them feel empowered and important and getting them off the streets and off drugs and all of those things. So if you want to help people, make the money and then help people. Okay, stop with this fear of not succeeding or what people are going to think of you or whatever it might be, and just do it. Just walk forward in the mission that you've been given and quit being fearful of man or fail. And if you fail, awesome. Okay, just fall flat on your face. And when you get up, you just kind of walk your feet forward to where your face is at, and you stand up there and you have fallen like a full body length forward. So you've moved, for me, that's like I fell forward. I'm 5'9". So 5 feet and 9 inches, I have just made it forward when I fell flat on my face. Okay. That's better than going nowhere, in my opinion. And then you just evaluate and change up what you did and do a little different next time. Okay. If you fall on your face every day, think how far forward you're going to be from just like standing around doing nothing instead. Okay. So just go for it. All right. So I've already been kind of addressing this, but I'm going to finish up with no excuses, and I'm just going to rattle a few more off. Okay. Excuses, Dani Johnson talks about this. She is such like a divisive character because she is so powerful, and what she teaches, I don't know if you guys know this, she teaches straight out of the Bible. Okay. You want the best business building book in the world? Get out your Bible. Okay. Jesus is like the ultimate network marketer. He gathered 12 guys, sent them out, and look at now. Just look at now. Okay. So she teaches straight from the Bible, and she says that excuses are based in fear, and fear just a bunch of well-planned lies. So if you have a fear holding you back, you bought some sort of a lie that the devil's just been kind of whispering in your ear. Okay, so one of them is I don't have time. Okay, this is one where I tend to get kind of mean. I really do love people, you guys. So I'm sorry if I sound mean, but when people tell me that they don't have time, and I'm looking at them and like maybe their kids go to school and they go to coffee with their friends or who knows what it is, I'm like, dude, Don't tell me you can't do this because your kids are home for the summer, because mine are home all the time. Like, I'm sitting with the bedroom door locked right now just so I can talk to you guys for a little bit, right? So that one never flies with me. Never, ever flies with me, okay? We all have 24/7, and we all choose how our time is spent, okay? So that might mean sometimes we do choose to stay up an hour later to work on something. Don't make a habit of it. I certainly wouldn't, because I did, and it didn't turn out so well for me. I mean, it did actually turn out really well. I think it's just one of those things I had to walk through so I could come and share with you to not do that. Okay? So, and sometimes we might choose that we're not working. You know, I'm choosing that today is my anniversary, and it's normally a day I'd have like 10 conference calls, but those are all going to wait until next week because I'm going to go celebrate my anniversary. But whatever the case, we choose how we spend our time. You have time. If you sit down to eat lunch, you have time. Okay? If you put your makeup on in the morning, you got time to do something while you're putting on your makeup. Whatever it is, you've got time. So that one just doesn't work. I don't have the money. That's all the more reason to grow a business with Young Living, okay? Because you're never going to find a business where you can, sorry, I just saw them. I'm laughing. You're never going to have another business where you can get started with such little investment, right? And make it literally right back. And some people start before their kit even ever gets there. You all heard Shannon Hudson's story? Right? I mean, literally, like, whip out your computer and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Let's do this together. Okay? Don't try to be the expert. Even when you eventually are the expert, don't act like it anyway. Okay? Because it just intimidates people and makes them think they can't do what you're doing. Okay? So lead them to be empowered and find out stuff for themselves. But the whole money that I don't have money is definitely, there are some companies that would be a reason that you wouldn't be able to get started, especially if you don't believe in going into debt. But Young Living is just, no. You can sell a few things around your house and buy your kit and be started. And that's, you know, and you don't have to have all the things. Remember, we talked about that. You don't have to have all the resources and all the things to build your business. So you just, you can't use that one. Sorry. You can't use that one. I'm not a salesman. First of all, I am not a salesman in the natural sense either. Okay. I was in marching band in high school. I was actually the drum major for a marching band, which I loved, and concert band as well. And I would skip some of the most amazing, they took amazing trips for band, like down to New Orleans and did all sorts of cool stuff. I'd skip them. If it meant that I had to sell cookie dough or Christmas wreaths or wrapping paper or any of that stuff, nope, was not happening. I would rather skip the trip. And I did skip some of them. My parents could not believe it. They could not believe it, but I did. And I was totally, I didn't care because I wasn't going to sell stuff door to door. But we all are selling something. Okay. We're also, if you shared your favorite restaurant with a friend or on Facebook or, you know, whatever it is, people are always talking about how they got this bag here or clothes there or, you know, vacation here or whatever it is, or goodness, when you go on a date, you're trying to sell your beautiful self to this person you want to, you know, marry someday or whatever it is. We all are selling stuff. Okay. And that's really what we do in this profession. Okay. We just share what we love and what we know will help people. And we support them and help them find the right resources to use those things. And then we show them how they can do the same thing. It is really that simple. Okay. And I know for myself, when I would not go door to door selling stuff, it was because I was afraid of people saying no. Okay. And it's the same fear that people have in this profession. Okay. But the more no's you hear, the better. It's the whole go for no thing, right? So I know some people have done the 100 no challenge. There's nothing wrong with hearing no. And honestly, that does still, even with that particular person, you still go back like at least 10 more times. At least 10 more times you offer again. Okay. So don't quit and don't be afraid of no. Find the fear behind the excuse, because there's always a fear, and conquer it. Okay. Fight it with truth. I want to see some of the things I wrote down here. Maybe I should pay attention to my notes. Oh, yes. Here's the deal. I will tell you this. This is where I get a little bit mean again. I actually, and I do have some of my team members on here, and they'll probably be like, oh, she's so mean. I actually will not spend a lot of time working business-wise with someone as long as they are still making excuses. Okay? Because I am mean sometimes, Skyla. I mean, no, listen, if someone is still coming to me with the same excuse over and over again, I have found that if I spend a lot of time with them answering business questions, trying to help them grow their business, whatever, and they have not conquered the fear that is behind or underlying that excuse, guess what? We just are running as because we keep circling right back around to the same old excuse and the same old fear. Okay. They'll come and they'll go, but what should I do about this? And I'll say, well, have you tried this? And they'll say, well, I don't have time. Again, I don't have time. And then we're dealing with the same thing again. So that doesn't mean I won't support them. I will support them where they're at, which they're probably just still loving their products and still not ready for the business because they've got this thing they've got to conquer first. And I will work with them to help them conquer that as well. Hang on. I know I'm talking too much when my voice starts to go. But that really needs to be conquered. Okay, it's really going to be a barrier. So find the fear, identify it, work through it, find an accountability partner if you need to. I'm actually going to give you some questions that you can kind of ask yourself or maybe work through with a friend that might be really, really helpful. Okay, these are open-ended questions. Skyla knows about these too, and my poor members, they hear open-ended questions all the time. Our call next week with our leaders, we're going to be practicing open-ended questions, okay? So this is another, I mean, you hear this from a lot of people, but something we really focused on in our downline leadership training. Open-ended questions just really get people thinking, much better than yes-no questions, okay? Yes-no questions, people can feel kind of beat up with them. They can kind of feel like they don't really have a choice in what their response is. They don't really make us think. You know, if you have children and you think back to when you've just been like interrogating them and it's all yes-no questions, you don't often get super duper far with those. Okay, so you want to ask yourself and others questions that really make you think. So here are some questions for you. The first one is, what excuses are keeping me from, and you kind of would have to fill in the blank because I don't know where each of you is at, but you know, examples would be like breaking through, hitting my goals, or really going for it in my Young Living business. What excuses are holding me up? Okay. And then a follow-up to that would be, what is the underlying fear? Okay, and don't dismiss that one. Don't dismiss it. What is the underlying fear? And a third one would be, where did it come from? This is kind of a twofold. Where did it come from? And how long has this been an issue for me? Because I've been really surprised that most of my fears, I can trace back to like as far back as I can remember. And lots of times find an instance where it's like that's it right there. And we kind of need to deal with that. Okay. So where did it come from? How long has this been an issue for me? And what will I do today to overcome it? What will I do today to overcome it? Now, some things I have done, I go to scripture a lot, and I usually try to find something to combat the lie and the fear. Action. There are two things in your overcoming fear journey that are so huge. Obviously, use your oils, oil up, but action and accountability. Action and accountability. Okay, when you have somebody helping you overcome and walk through that, and it's like, maybe you scheduled a class and your big fear is public speaking, and you're like, oh, I don't think anybody's coming, I will just cancel. But you have your accountability partner that's like, oh, no, you will not. I'm coming. I'm going to be there. You're not canceling on me. Okay, that's huge. So that accountability and taking action, like right now, because the longer you wait, the harder it gets, and the more prone you are to just putting it off. So what will I do today to overcome it? Whether it's I'm going to schedule the class today, I'm going to make the phone call today, I'm going to dig into my Bible and look up some verses that are going on my fridge today, I'm going to find an accountability partner today. Any good references on how to find what the root fear is? You know what? See, there's one of my members. She's saying that I'm feisty. But she likes me. She did say she likes me. So that's good. Any good references? You know what? I know there are some. Now, of course, a lot of people use for emotional stuff like the Blue Book. I always call it the Blue Book. I forget the actual title. I think Skyla's typing. So maybe she's typing in the title for me because I always called it the blue book and that's not very helpful. But as far as like finding the root, for me, it's just been like a process of praying and thinking back to my, through the years, if that makes any sense. Because for me, usually there's been like an event. There's been something that happened. There you go. Skyla put in some good ones. Releasing, that's the one. That's the blue book. So she put in a couple though. Yes, there you go. And she's holding it up. But for me, it's been a lot of self-reflection. And you guys, I will say I'm not like a new agey person. So I'm not talking about like woo-woo self. I am talking about like just sitting down and literally looking back through my life and the big events that have occurred. And it's surprising sometimes what all of a sudden bubbles up and you're just like, bawling and letting it out. Use your release, combat the lies with truth. And it just seems so simple, but it's so absolutely huge. Okay. And have somebody to walk with you through that. So that's really it. I wrote down a little closing list and it's really simple. I would just in closing say, this is your journey. This is yours. So you can take anything I said tonight and, deal with none of it, use none of it or whatever, but this is your thing. It goes back to the not comparing. This is your journey. So be kind, be teachable, be humble, be consistent, be intentional. Sorry, I see some of you writing and I sped through. So be kind, be teachable, be humble, be consistent, be gracious, and be you. Okay. I can totally see on Facebook when people are trying to be someone else. Okay. I will know that they really love a certain leader and I will watch them, and it's totally great to try to emulate people, but not to the point of being someone that's not you. Okay. I've actually watched a couple of my old high school friends that are with another company. They both friended me at once this week or two ago. And I was like, well, that's a little bit weird. I wonder what's up. And I figured out they're both with another company. And what they're doing is literally kind of taking my post, which is kind of sad, you guys, because I am not like Facebook diva. That I really should message them and be like, you know what, I've got some ideas for a couple other people for you to come follow and do what they do. But they're taking what I do, like if I post about my kids, they post about their kids. And if I put, whatever. But the thing is, even though I literally, it's been like 20 years since I was really around them, it's not them at all. It's like, what are you doing? Like that just, no, don't do that. So learn from people, but be you. That is just, don't lose yourself in this whole process, okay? Because God made you, and he made you unique and amazing. And the things that you're passionate about and love the most, those are probably your strengths and probably the things that you should be using to grow your business. Even if they seem unrelated, I guarantee you they probably are, okay? All right. I'm going to stop. Thank you, Skyla, for letting me come and ramble to your people. Thank you.
Corie, you are absolutely fantastic. And I have to agree with Shelby. I kind of like it when you get rubbed up a little bit. That's fantastic. And I could not agree with you more with that last list. That was kind of like the bow on top of the reminders to just be genuine and above all be yourself, because the world knows it when you're not.
Yeah.
Oh, and perhaps your old high school friends that are emulating you just need a good genuine invitation to join you in this business.
There you go. Yeah, we're interacting. So
right on.
Yep.
So you guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the recording. If you would like to stick around just a couple of minutes for Q&A, please feel welcome to.